Hi guys, welcome to Code Decode. Today we are going to start with a new feature of stream, that is processing of streams. In the previous video we have already covered how to create a stream, how to configure a stream using filters and map, and how was it different to configure a stream using filter and how is it different from configure a stream using map. Today we are going to see how do we process the configured stream that we have configured in the previous lecture. So today we are going to process that particular stream. This video is actually sponsored by CodeGym. So let me quickly make you go through the advantages of CodeGym and why we are introducing CodeGym to you people. CodeGym is nothing but an online platform where you can learn Java by doing. Basically, you can start the coding from scratch using CodeGym as a platform. CodeGym is nothing but an online Java programming courses with 1200 tasks, and it's the best place for you to practice the Java coding part. This course is available both for desktop and mobile applications. You can download the app from here. I'm going to make you go through the app in a few seconds. First, let's understand what this CodeGym and what this platform is all about. So basically, CodeGym actually provides you 80% of practice things. Just by reading books, we cannot crack a programming interview. What we need is to have an online platform where you can actually do 80% of practice and 20% of theory, and then you can become a programmer. So basically this is 80% of practice. They have virtual mentors. Basically in CodeGym, the solutions are provided by basically the virtual teachers. They are not the real people, they are the programs. So as soon as you submit your solutions, the instantly program will return you with the results. So a virtual teacher gives you recommendation about your solutions, help you fix your mistakes, because you cannot just at once write a perfect code, right? So basically these virtual mentors will give you an instant solution, help you fix your mistakes, and give a clear list of requirement regarding what you actually need to do. Basically it helps you to remove the boring teaching techniques, and it introduces a new non-boring technique of teaching like visualization, storytelling, motivation, gaming, and dozens of other technologies. Basically it is implemented using the IntelliJ IDEA integration. So basically CodeGym teaches students how to work in one of the most popular modern IDE, that is IntelliJ IDEA. At the end of this, the whole series of education and learning and guides, and most importantly develop a special plugin for IDEA. It's built into a development environment, and you can completely as CodeGym tasks directly into that particular IDE. So it's basically IDE friendly. It's like when you go into a new job, you won't feel like I don't know any IDE in which I can code. It has an integrated IDE for you. It also has a strong Java community. So if you can see, you have a strong community here, a large community of like-minded people, like Java people, always a few clicks away to you for your help. And when you are really stuck, you will be needing these people to give you a help on these things. So strong Java community created for programmers by programmers. So basically this is created by programmers, and hence they will be understanding what you need to learn, what you don't. So this is for programmers by programmers. The course is distinctively structured. Basically it contains 600 lectures, mini lectures for theory, and 1200 of those practice things. So this is properly structured for you. It will also help you in prepare for your jobs, because you will be good with the programming part. Then CodeGym will always give you a targeted preparation for the job interviews. Basically it is available in all the languages like English, Polish, Chinese, Hindi, German, French, and many more languages. So basically it's like a multilingual app or the site for you. Now let me quickly go to the application part or the Android app that they have. So I'll give you the link below. But as of now, first let's understand what this app is all about. This app is actually CodeGym learning app. You can install from here. This is nothing but an app which you can use from your smartphones, and it consists of basically again the 1200 task and 600 mini lectures. If you dream of becoming a programmer in a very short period of time, then here's a solution for you. This is app which will be installed in your phone, and it will be devoted just for you. With even 30 minutes a day will be enough for reading a couple of lectures and solving few tasks. So the Java programming course is designed in the playing format, which includes quests. So it will be very interactive for you. It will be a quiz and quest for you, and hence the coding will become a happy path for you. So there's lot of tasks in this course. You can write your code, you can fix your existing code, you can self-content mini projects and games you can create here. And the main advantages of these particular apps is that it is 80% practice again. It has a bite-sized lecture with real-time examples. You will be able to write your code on phone with mobile IDE. So this is the best part. This is the first thing I have ever found, that even with my phone I can code anywhere, anytime. The instance task verification with the virtual mentor option, save your progress so that you can return any learning any minute. 500 hours of coding experience, it helps the section, and strong Java community will help you find your answers to your problems, and they will basically be always ready to help you out. Java blogs with tons of useful information for Java beginners and learners, and the most important part of this app is it's completely, absolutely free for you. So basically, how would you get in CodeGym? You don't have to do anything. You just have to drop an email to support@codegym.cc. There you can say that we have a 30% discount from Code Decode using a particular code, that is Code Decode. So that's all about the Code Gym. Let me quickly move ahead to our course part. Okay, so in the previous video, we have seen the steps to create a stream. So in the previous video, we have taken the same example. We have taken an example of an array list having the three numbers 15, 25 and 52. Now, what we have seen is how to create a stream using the dot stream method on any collection. So this is how you create a stream. How? Using a collection object, use the stream method on any collection object, you will be able to get a stream. Then you have seen how to configure a stream. We have seen to configure a stream using filter or map, and we have also seen the difference between filter and map. So this is a filtered stream or the mapped stream according to what configuration you take for configuration of your stream, either map or filter. And now we are going to process this filtered stream. So the processing actually takes place in many ways. So one of the ways is collect, then count, sorted, min, max for each array and off. So if you have a particular configured stream, you can process the stream in multiple ways. So let's see what are the ways to process the stream with live demo. So the way to process the stream using collect is, if you want to collect the elements of a stream after filtering or mapping and add them to a required collection. So it's too much of theoretical. Let me quickly move to the demonstration, then we will come back to the theory part. Okay. So what we have done here is we have taken a list. List has three elements. Now if you want to create a stream object, you have to use a stream method. If you want to configure this, you need a filter method, and please give me only those numbers which are greater than 20. So tell me how many numbers we will be getting. We will be getting two numbers only, 25 and 52. 15 is less than 20. So it doesn't fulfill the filter criteria, and hence filtered stream have only 25 and 52 and not 15. Now I want to collect all these numbers 25 and 52 into another list or into another collection object. Then what I have to do, I have to use this collect method. So if you want to collect elements of stream after filtering or mapping, then add them to a required collection, then use collect method. Now is it clear? So now after filtering and collecting, where do I want to collect my filtered stream? I want to collect it to list, or I have many more options. I want to collect it to set, or I want to collect it to map, or I want to collect it to concurrent map. I want to collect it to some collection. So there are multiple options where I can collect my filtered stream objects as a collection object. And now for each of the collected collection object, I want to print each of those objects. So simple, this is as simple as that. Create a stream, configure a stream using filter or map, and then process the stream using collect. So what does collect do? It collects all the stream objects who are discreted in the stream into a collection object, so that you can get a particular object of collection type, that is list or set or map or something like that. So then at that time use collect. Now if I want to print it in a single line, I am expecting this, that now till now you are able to do this. Create a stream. Stream will create a stream object. On the stream object only you can filter or map. This is this is configuration, and then process the whole stream using the collect, and using the argument is collectors.toList. You have multiple more options. You can just do here, and you can see multiple options here. And now a new filtered list is created. And why the list is created and not stream? Because we have collected it to to a particular list. Till now we have just filtered, and whatever output we used to get is just a stream. Now we are one step ahead. We are not getting a stream as an output. We are actually getting a list as an output, because we don't want a stream. We want a proper collection object which has the stream objects as entries in these collections. So this is the collect method for you. Now let me quickly move ahead to the second way to process your elements, that is count. So what does count do? If you want to count how many elements are there in the collection that satisfies the given collection condition, then use the collect method. Let me give you a demonstration for this. Okay, let me run this for you first. So if you say now in a single line 25 and 52, this is how you have collected and this is how you have filtered. Now let me give you a count demo rather than collect demo. So I'm taking the same example, no difference. All these three numbers again. I'm getting a stream object, I'm filtering it. Now I just want to count how many elements are there in my stream. Then just use the count method. If I try to run this for you, it should say 2. Why? Because we have filtered it. Now if I don't want to filter, I just want to count it in a raw stream. Then what should I do? I should just do this. And now my new count will be 3. So my new count is 3. So count always works on a stream. So even after configuring by filter or map, you always get a stream. So that is why you can do a count or either on the raw stream or on the filtered or the map stream. So this should be very clear to you in the interview. You don't always necessarily do filter or map. You can always put a count on a raw stream also, and after filtering it or mapping, you can also use the count. So let me quickly move ahead to the next interview question. How to process element using sorted. Have you ever used the processing of stream objects using sorting? So this is a very important thing. If you want to sort elements inside a stream, use the sorted method. Let me give you a demo first so that it is easy for you to understand. Now I have a filtered list of this. I want to be it greater than 20. So I have 250 and 52. I want to sort it. Now this is a method for sorting. This is a natural sorting, not a customized sorting. So if you want to sort the element inside the stream, use sorted method on this particular stream. You can sort on the basis of default natural ordering, but you can also sort using customized sorting order using the comparator. That I will cover in the next demonstration. First understand the natural sorting. So if I try to actually filter this particular sorted thing, what will I do? I'll just use a sorted method and I'll get a sorted stream. If I try to print it, I should get 52 and 250. Let me run this for you. So 52 and 250. Now suppose I haven't filtered it. So this is a single line example for you. Create a stream, filter it and sort it. I don't want to filter. I want to sort the raw thing, the raw stream. So my raw stream says 15, 250 and 52. So answer should be 15, 52 and 250 after now in single line. So let me run this for you. Yes, 15, 52 and 250 I haven't filtered. I have just sorted the raw stream I have got. So is that clear to you? This is a natural sorting. Now the very important question from the interview perspective is, how do you sort in a single line in the descending order? So you must understand that descending order can be achieved using a comparator. I have covered this custom sorting using comparator in the previous video. Just for the sake of revising thing, I'll just tell you that in the sorted you will get a comparator object, and the comparator object can be implemented using a lambda expression also. This lambda expression takes two arguments. This is a particular symbol for lambda expression and it says I2 compared to I1. If it would have been I1 compared to I2, it would be ascending order of sorting. But I'm saying please compare I2 with I1. This is descending order of sorting. This is not a natural sorting order. This is a comparator in one single line for you. So if I try to run this, then first this filter will filter out only 250 and 52. And now I want to sort it on the ascending order. It should be 250 and 52 only. So let me run this for you. So yes, it's 250 and 52 only. So I'll give you one example. If I don't want to filter it and then sort it according to the comparator, it will give me 250, 52 and 15 after now in single line, because I've removed the filtering from the single line one. It's still there in the descriptive one. So yes, it's 250, 52 and 15 because I've removed the filter part where I'm filtering only the elements greater than 20. Now if I try to compare it I1 with I2, it will be as good as the previous example, which is natural sorting. So this particular thing will become 15, 52 and 250 in the ascending order. So 15, 52 and 250. So this is the strength of comparator using the lambda expression. Compare to method is overridden in this one particular line only. So if I1 is compared to I2, it is natural sorting. If I2 is compared to I1, it is descending sorting order, or the comparator used in the customized sorting order for the element processing. If this much is clear, let me quickly move ahead to how to process elements using min and max. So again, if you want to calculate minimum or maximum, you have to use comparator, because you need to tell the stream first, how do I find the minimum or how should I find the maximum. The ways of doing it can be your custom comparator wise also. So min and max methods always take a comparator who decides how to first sort it, and then fetch the minimum or fetch the maximum, fetch the first or the fetch the last. So comparator is also important in finding the min and max from the stream. So let me give you an example of min max first. I have the same example for you, 15, 250 and 52. I have created a stream. I have filtered only two elements greater than 20. So I have only two objects, 52 and 250. Now I want to find a minimum in the ascending order. This is ascending order. So it's taking I1 compared to I2. So it should return a minimum of 52 and 250. So answer should be 52. Yes, the answer is 52. It's I1 compared to I2. Now in single line, how to find the minimum and how to find the maximum. Please note, there is no filter here. We are fetching the minimum and maximum without filtering. I have not used dot filter here. Can you see? I have not used filter here. So what I am trying to do, I am just trying to fetch the minimum and maximum from a stream which is having 15, 250 and 52. So the minimum should be 15, yes, and maximum should be 250, yes. Now if I do it in opposite manner for you, I2 will be compared to I1. What should be the answer? It should be 15 again, because I want to find the maximum from the descending order. So maximum in the descending order will be 15. So is that clear? This is the strength of minimum and maximum. You can replace minimum with maximum, maximum with minimum by changing the comparator sorting order. Is that clear? If this much is clear, you are very good with the processing of elements, because these were the complex topics which are asked during the interviews. Now something which you already know, how to process elements using for each. So for each is nothing but a method used for stream. All methods that we have seen till now has returned something, like minimum has returned the minimum value, maximum has returned the maximum value. Sorted collection has given me a sorted stream which is having the data in the ascending or the default sorted order. Custom sorted collection always written in the based on comparator the sorted order. So everything that we have used till now has used to return something, either a stream or a value. Even count used to return the number of elements in a count of that stream. But the for each method does not return you anything. What it actually if it does not return anything, why is it used? It's used to because it takes the lambda expression as an argument. So let me give you an example. In the sorted demo, we have seen this, right? I'll just give you one example here. Now, this is the for each that I'm talking about. So what does for each do? It takes a particular lambda expression as an input, and for each element of that particular stream or filtered stream, what it do, it applies some operation. So here, that operation is nothing but to print that particular element which is present in that. So this takes a lambda expression. This is my lambda expression, and apply that lambda expression to each element present in that stream, and apply this expression operation on each element present in the stream. So this is the use of for each. This is one of the very unique processing done to the stream where you don't get anything in return, but operation is performed on each element of that particular stream on which you use this particular operation for. If that much is clear, let me quickly move ahead to how to process the elements using toArray method. We can use this method to copy elements. Remember, you will always be asked in an interview the toArray method what it actually do. It actually copies the element present in a stream to an array. So it's very easily we have converted a list or an array to a stream using the stream method. Now it's the opposite of this. I want to create a array from stream. So how do I do that? So this is how I've created a stream. I have filtered a stream. Now from the stream I need to again create an array. So to convert your stream into an array, you have to use a method called as toArray. Basically, it doesn't take any argument. It's just convert whatever you have in a stream into an objects array. Then in that objects array, you have to map, if you want to perform some automatic operation, you need to typecast it to integer. Basically, it does nothing but returns you an object array. It's upon you how do you want to use this. Currently, I've just printed it. So if I run this for you, it's just printed. So since I've used a filter here greater than 20, this element is removed. Only we have two elements, 250 and 52. Now, if I try to convert that stream into array, it will give me an object array, and then using the for loop or the for each loop, I can print. I cannot use dot for each because it's no more a stream left for me. It's converted into array using the toArray method. That's the use of toArray, to convert it into the array. But it's converted into object array because it does not know, the toArray does not take any argument. It does not know to which particular array it wants to convert it to. So it always gives you an object array. It's your task to typecast it into your required things. But remember, toArray will always return you an object array. It's a very important interview question. On a stream, if in your project, if you have tried to, have you ever tried to get a array out of your stream? So yes, you have using the toArray method, but it's your job to convert it into the typecast it into the required object because it is the generic object which is returned. If this much is clear, let me quickly move ahead to a very important concept or a very important processing technique which is OFF. Now this is a very favorite interview question. Let me give you first demonstration, then we will come to the theory part. You won't be able to understand else. So we have seen the streams, we have seen enough of streams. So we have converted a list into stream. How? Using dot stream. So you have always converted a collection object to stream. But I don't have a collection object. Will you be able to use stream? Answer is yes. Stream concept is not just applicable for collections like we have used list with the three numbers 15, 25 and 52. It's also applicable for any group of values, any. It can be anything. It can be an array. It can be anything. So here I am giving you anything. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, anything. This is not even an array. This is nothing. It's just a group of elements. So any group of values can be converted into stream. Why do you want to convert it into stream? Because stream has many benefits. We have seen. Using a stream, we can count number, we can filter, we can map, we can do anything you want to do with a collection of objects. So, there can be a chances that you want to convert a group of elements into stream. So, how would you do that? Just use this method, stream.off, and your any group of values, it will be converted into stream. Even for arrays, you can create a stream. So, this is a very important two-word method, but a very important method. This is the way to come from a Java world into stream world. This is a way to convert any collection of objects into a stream. So if you try to hover over it, let me make you understand. It is a method of stream. It takes a variable argument. I've covered this. Do you remember? This is a var arg. It takes a variable arguments and converts it into a stream. Currently I've given 1, hence it is giving you integer. If you go into this, It is T. It can be anything. Whatever value it takes, it's typecast it into T, into var argument T. So this is var argument. It takes any number of that particular collection of objects and convert into stream. So if this much is clear, let me quickly move ahead to my off example. I'm giving you anything, it's converted into stream, and for each of those, please print it as a stream. So if I run it, I'll get 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Whatever I've given, it is converted into stream. And since it is converted into stream, I'm able to use this method. For each method with a lambda expression is nothing but a method used on stream. You cannot use it in anywhere apart from streams. So this is the beauty of a two simple word which is capable enough to convert anything into stream. And then with that stream, you can do anything you could have done with a normal stream using collect, count, sort, toArray, for each, everything and everything. Now, theoretical part of it, stream.of, this method takes any group of values and convert them into streams so that multiple stream operations can be applied to it. I hope this much is clear. If you have still difficulty in understanding this, because I understand this is a very complex topic, please let me know in the comment section. Okay, let me cover parallel stream, but actually time doesn't permit me. Let me give you a quick overview, and the complexity of parallel stream we will be covering in the next video. Okay, so parallel stream is nothing but a parallel stream is introduced in Java, which came into picture only after Java 1.8. It is meant to utilize multiple cores of a processor. So if you go into past, you used to have a simple computers. You didn't used to have multiple cores. But as the computer evolved, it is evolved with a multiple cores. Now even we have reached to a point where we have octa core, we have hexa core, we have quad core. Multiple cores are there in a processor. Now till now, our Java code, whatever we have done till now, it has only one stream. So if you can come to this example of, let's take sorted demonstration. It is just a single stream. This is a single threaded model. This particular code has one stream of processing where it executes sequentially. But now when you use a parallel stream, we divide our code into multiple streams that executes parallelly on separate cores, and finally the result is the outcome of individual cores. It's difficult to understand. Let me quickly make you go through it. Till now what we were doing is a sequential streaming. So we sequentially added to task 1, task 2, task 3, task 4 in one core only. So my code is capable enough to execute all these stream tasks in one core. Rest all cores are empty. So this is bad in performance. This is bad in memory utilization. This is bad in all terms. It's just make sure that whatever you are executing, the executing sequence is maintained. First task T1 is maintained, then T2, then T3, T4. So task T2 can depend on T1, T3 can depend on T2, T4 can depend on T3. They don't have to be independent tasks. Even the output of this can become an input of this because it is sequential in terms. So in sequential order, tasks are executed and output of one can be input of another. Anything can happen. It won't hamper your execution. But in the terms of memory utilization, it is bad. In the terms of performance, it is bad. In terms of time consumption, it is bad because first T1, then T2, then multitasking is not done. To remove this, Java 8 people were smart enough. They have introduced parallel stream for us. What they have done, if you have 4 cores on your system, let me divide your stream task into 4 tasks. Now, on core 3, T1 is executing, on core 1, T2. T3 is executing on core 4. This is just an example. It can execute in any number of cores. So the output of this parallel stream is T2, then T4, then T1 and T3, basically not in sequential order. So the order of execution is not in control. Hence, it is advisable to use parallel stream only and only when the order of executions of thread does not matter and state of elements does not affect the another state. So this is a very important concept of parallel stream. It's always advisable to use only when these 4 are independent tasks. Now I do have many things to cover with problem of streams, many more the code example. but seriously time doesn't permits me. I'm really sorry. We are going to cover this in the just next video, on the upcoming video. Please let me know in the comment section if you want us to cover the problems with the parallel stream and such complex topics. Only if you comment me, then only I'll be touching these complex topics. Else we can proceed forward with the other topics of Java. Please like, share and subscribe to support us so that we are able to make these videos furthermore. Thank you so much.